Fear. This is a feeling known to mankind since its very inception. Being one of the oldest and most primal of emotions, it is through fear that hope was inevitably born. Throughout many mythologies, the unknown was often given shape and reasoning in the form of gods and goddesses. These divine, holy beings crafted in order to explain the many wonders of this world. In Egypt, they believed in the sun god Ra, who was forever carrying the sun across the sky. Doing so day after day, this would eventually explain why the sun would rise and eventually set. In ancient Greece, their faith hinged on the gods and their moods. A thunderstorm meant the rage of Zeus. Fall and winter was Demeter longing for her daughter's return from the underworld. One thing most mythologies have in common is associating the once unknown laws of nature and the universe with human-like concepts. But what happens when the antithesis of mythology becomes what its creator detested the most? A belief. A pseudo-religion of sorts. In the world of literature, it isn't too surprising to see famous works become cult classics. With your Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, and Percy Jackson's, which I for one am extremely excited for, they've all had a huge impact on the world of writing, but seldom does an author's work manage to propel itself into the mainstream quite as much as H.P Lovecraft. In this video, we will briefly explain who Lovecraft is and delve into the nightmarish universe he concocted, alongside some of the more noteworthy abominations that lurk in the darkest depths of our minds. A quick disclaimer. Regardless of your beliefs, religion is something that has lingered throughout human history for the longest of times. Whether it be monotheistic, such as Christianity, Judaism, or Islamic, or polytheistic like that of Hinduism, Shintoism, and so on, they all have one major thing in common. They've existed for hundreds of years, if not longer, well known throughout the globe, whether one is religious or not. Just about everyone has heard of these. That's precisely what makes today's video topic such an interesting one, as the existence of Lovecraft's religion is still in its infancy in comparison. Now, before some of you race to the comments and attempt to correct these claims of Lovecraft's work being a religion, I'll clear the air right now. I understand that, amidst the vast controversial viewpoints of Lovecraft, one of those is his anti-religious views, as he instead believed in something known as cosmicism, a belief created by Lovecraft himself. Cosmicism, as defined by Lovecraft, is the philosophy that we as people are insignificant in the grand presence of an intergalactic existence. Despite this, however, there are plenty of mentions and talks of greater entities in his works, which is no different from the mythologies we know of today. That being said, there are still many people to this day who truly believe in and worship the beings created by Lovecraft. With that out of the way, some of you might be wondering, who was H.P. Lovecraft? Born April 20th, 1890, Howard Phillips Lovecraft was an American writer renowned for his short stories. Often dark and brooding, it might surprise you to learn that Lovecraft's career as an author only took precedence in his later years, between 1917 to 1937. Popular in the pulp magazine Weird Tales, Lovecraft quickly became one of their most prominent and well-received authors. When it comes to Lovecraft and the creation of this mythology, it all stemmed from the aptly named Call of Cthulhu. This is without a doubt Lovecraft's most popular of works and figures within the appropriately named Cthulhu Mythos. Seldom does a work of fiction find itself achieving the same greatness as Lovecraft in the likeness of his creation, Cthulhu. Spanning all throughout media and storytelling, there are copious games, references, and adaptations of this creature, as Cthulhu pioneered the cosmology of Lovecraft's otherworldly horror. What had started as a mere monster conjured by nightmares soon erupted into something more, something unique and special. Unbeknownst to Lovecraft at the time, this was the beginning of the very thing he detested, a pantheon of grand ideas. One thing to note is that Lovecraft highly encouraged others to add to his mythos. Because of this, we will only discuss the noteworthy creatures created by him. To start off this list, we must begin with the one who governs all of existence. There are many titles that refer to this outer god, some of which being the blind idiot god, the sleeping chaos, and the lord of all. His name? Azathoth. First mentioned in the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, this is where we are first introduced to the most vital of Lovecraft's creations within the mythos. It is said that all of reality is a mere dream concocted by this slumbering creature, thus making Azathoth the creator deity of everything. Properly describing this god is a difficult task, a common trend within the mythos, as his appearance is constantly shifting and changing. Some accounts claim him to be insect-like, while others presume him to be a sentient black hole. One thing remains true throughout any description of Azathoth, and that is the sheer dread his name brings. Serving as the very core of our reality, with all of creation standing as his dreams, it is said that once Azathoth awakens, the end of everything shall commence. For that reason, it is in the best interest for even the most malevolent of deities to keep their slumbering creator at rest, as even the omnipotent presence of the other outer gods are but a byproduct of his dreams. Being a more frequent presence in H.P. Lovecraft's work, the outer god, Yoggsethoth, is prominently known as the Key in the Gate, appearing within many of the Cthulhu Mythos tales. Some notable stories include the case of Charles Dexter Ward, where he was first mentioned, and the Dunwich Horror, where he serves as the main driving force behind this story. Differing from Azathoth, whose appearance is always evolving and never stagnant, Yoggsethoth is described as a congregus of iridescent globes. Locked out and cast from our universe, many believe that Yoggsethoth is omniscient, as he inhabits all of space-time. Be it the past, present, or future, he sees and knows all secrets across reality, for Yoggsethoth simply is. First appearing in the story, The Last Test, we are told of Shub. Referred to as the Mother Goddess, she is well known to be a perverse fertility deity. Described in the selected letters of H.P. Lovecraft, the only visual description given for this goddess is that of an evil, cloud-like entity. An enormous form of darkness adorned with tentacles, dripping mouths, and goat-like legs. A strange assortment that is rounded out by continually birthing small creatures. Out of every deity in the mythos, she is the most worshipped. Of all the outer gods, to me, this one is the most interesting. Being a more prominent figure in the mythos, Niar Lethatep originally appeared in the story of the same name, something not many deities of this mythos can relate to. With the majority of outer gods being exiled from this world and cast into the stars, Niar Lethatep is unique in that he is allowed to freely roam our world without hindrance, often doing so under the guise of a human. Sporting over 1,000 faces to his name, Niar Lethatep's appearance is still much easier to describe than the other figures who inhabit this mythos. Typically, when maintaining a human disguise, he is seen as tall, swarthy, and akin to an Egyptian pharaoh. Something that would come into play in the aforementioned story, The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, wherein Niar Lethatep appears before Randolph Carter as one. Many of his other forms, as in line with the majority of the mythos, are reputed as being horrific and sanity-blasting. Regarded as being the most human-like of the outer gods, this comes as no surprise as Niar Lethatep often lives alongside mankind, even going so far as to speak human language, rather than the odd, alien language often used by the gods. Being all-powerful, he is both a messenger for the gods as well as the one who tends to the affairs of any absent outer gods. Despite his capabilities, though, Niar Lethatep seems to prefer deception and manipulation to achieve his goals. Interestingly to note, perhaps the source behind this god and their heavy inclusion in the mythos has to do with the frightening nightmares that affected Lovecraft, as he states that his first nightmare involving this creation was the most realistic and horrifying. The most terrifying of nightmares he's ever had since the age of 10. An extremely common trend throughout Lovecraft's work is the belief that we, as humans, are insignificant in the greater workings of the universe. Nothing seems to encapsulate this belief more than this quote alongside its source material. In the world of media, it isn't uncommon to see trends rise and fall, especially in pop culture. But none seem to have withstood the test of time more than Cthulhu. First debuting in The Call of Cthulhu, published in 1928, it was this work that would eventually propel Lovecraft into the mainstream. Appearing in popular cartoons such as South Park, Billy and Mandy, alongside countless games, there is no doubt that Cthulhu is the most widely recognized of Lovecraft's creations. Despite being the face of the mythos, it seems that not many people truly understand the lore behind this character and the role he plays in the mythology. Unlike the previously mentioned deities of this mythology, Cthulhu is not an outer god, but rather a great old one. While outer gods are often restricted to the outer reaches of our universe, great old ones are more often than not located all throughout our planet, typically in a deep slumber. Such is the case for Cthulhu, who remains in a death-like state deep beneath the uncharted waters of the Pacific Ocean. Ironically, while most deities and creatures of this mythos have features that are near impossible to describe, with continually changing forms or just outright ambiguous descriptions, Cthulhu certainly breaks this mold. Being a large, humanoid being that possesses the head of an octopus and the wings of a dragon, it is this amalgamation of extremely distinguishable features that allows for Cthulhu to be so, well, recognizable. Delving deeper, a popular misconception about this great old one is his place in the Lovecraftian hierarchy. With such popularity, often people attribute Cthulhu as the head of the mythos, which is far from the truth. Cthulhu is no leader of the gods, but rather is noted as being a high priest. It is through his teachings that his worshippers come to obey and understand his maddening wishes, as even the mere presence of Cthulhu is enough to invoke insanity and pandemonium. What exactly those wishes might be, though, are lost to any sane man. It is likely that, due to his status as a priest, Cthulhu's church or place of worship is that of the sunken city Arlier. Originally built during the Paleozoic era of Earth's history, this ancient city is described as a panorama of vast angles and stone surfaces, far too great to belong to anything right and proper of this earth, and its geometry being abnormal, non-Euclidean, loathsomely redolent of spheres and dimensions apart from our own. The reason for its eventual downfall, alongside the Cthulhu, a race of Cthulhu-like beings, was due to a prehistoric cataclysm caused by the Space Devils, an otherworldly race of creatures who opposed both Cthulhu and his own. During the Call of Cthulhu, Arlier had begun to rise from the depths for the first time since its downfall. Being so massive and grand, the only visible portion of the city to breach the surface was referred to as a single, hideous, monolith-crowned citadel, which served as Cthulhu's resting place until the stars eventually aligned. In his house at Arlier, dead Cthulhu waits dreaming. While the Cthulhu mythos is not a mythology in the traditional sense, my overall goal is to both entertain and educate those who wish to learn more about myth, folklore, and everything in between, whether it be from the real world, movies, books, games, or other. If you enjoyed this video, why not jingle bang that like button, subscribe, and comment what mythology you'd like for me to cover next. This has been Steve Wukong, and I'll see you in the next video as we take this journey to success.